This video is for the coffee connoisseurs out there. I figured I'd make a video on perking coffee while my bread was in the oven. The first thing you'll notice about our coffee pot is, yes, for you observant ones out there, that is a baby food jar where the percolator cap used to be. A couple weeks ago I was making coffee and rinsing out the inside of my pot when I noticed that the top was loose just a little bit, and I went to turn it, and before I could, it fell and broke. So that was a very sad event in our life because we are coffee drinkers. My husband said, "Oh look, the baby food jar will fit right on top of there," and it did. So now it's improvising until we can make it to the local Amish area to get a cap replacement, which is the only place you can get one unless you order on the internet. So, but anyways, for those coffee connoisseurs, you all know that drip coffee is a far cry from instant coffee, and perk coffee is a far cry from drip coffee. So we've been drinking perk coffee now since 1997. We've learned a few things over that time period. One of the things is no two coffees are the same, and neither are coffee pots, what the material the coffee pot is made of. When we first started drinking coffee, we had a stainless steel pot, and we also occasionally used our camp coffee pot, which is an small enamel pot, but it wasn't very big, so we didn't use it very often. We learned with our stainless steel pot that if it was washed regularly, that the coffee tasted funny, and we realized that just like cast iron. Alright, I was explaining before my memory card got full how the stainless steel coffee pot we had was like cast iron, and it required seasoning to be allowed to basically not to be washed on the inside very often. Whenever we would wash it, it would change the flavor, and it would take a couple weeks for the flavor of the coffee to get back to where we liked it. When we replaced it with this coffee pot here in the video, we assumed the same thing, and we had the coffee pot when we first got it. The coffee was really clear and crisp, and we really enjoyed that. And then after about a week, it started to get an off flavor, and didn't think anything about it until I noticed, because this is enamel obviously, and I could see the oil build up. So I washed it, and the coffee was as clean as crisp as the first time. Then we realized that this coffee pot, because it must be because the enamel base and the metal used underneath it requires it to be washed almost every day, every other day at the very max. We have to, or else it ends up being off flavor. So you can see it has started to perk into the baby jar. Coffee, to get that good strong flavor like from French press coffee that everybody seems to love, it takes approximately 4 to 5 minutes, no more. If you over perk this in this type of percolator, it won't even become strong, it just becomes off flavor. A lot of people believe that the longer you perk it, the stronger it becomes, and that's not true. The strength of the coffee comes from the amount of grounds that you use. The time perked, if it's perked too long, it has a tendency to create an off flavor in the coffee. We go basically by smell here. As soon as it starts to smell like coffee, we pull her off. On the old coffee pot, we had to let her perk about 10 minutes, otherwise it wasn't strong enough. All we can figure out is it was the metals of the coffee pot and how they differ. On the wood stove, get up in the morning. By the time we get a fire going, if we haven't kept a fire going through the night, within a half hour to 45 minutes, we have a pot of coffee. Yeah, from getting a fire going from no coals in there. So it does take a little bit of patience. It's not your drip coffee, but nor does it taste like your drip coffee. So again, if you're not a coffee connoisseur, it's not a big deal. If you are, then you're gonna want, to try this. We do, in this particular pot, it does have a basket. The lid doesn't fit right, so we have to make sure that all the water drains out before we pour it into our coffee thermos, or we get a really thick cup of coffee at the bottom of those cups.